Eric Darling here with Darling Data. And today's video is kind of a fun one because it's something that, like you'll hear a lot, but not actually be able to see very easily. And this is about how doing some things in SQL Server will escalate to the serializable escalation level, but not serializable isolation level. I mean, it is an escalation level too, but not really tell you. And how, like all the normal stuff that you would look at if you were trying to figure this stuff out doesn't really show you in a meaningful way that the serializable escalation happened. So like if you're looking at the block if you're looking at like SP who is active, right? Well, there's blocking going on. It can't tell you about this. If you look at like the block process report, the Deadlock XML report, it won't tell you about this. And the reason why is because the serializable isolation level escalation happens as a hint. So like it's not setting the transaction level for like the whole thing to serializable, right? When you set transaction isolation level something, then you can see that in who is active. Then you can see that in the block process report. Then you can see that in the XML deadlock report. If you just change, if you ask for something different using a query hint, it's not for the whole transaction. And so SQL Server usually, like if you're using all the defaults, will just report read committed. All right, so we'll talk about that in this video. Anyway, if you think this stuff is interesting and you have interesting SQL Server problems or even really boring ones that you just want someone else to work on, you can hire me for consulting. If you want to learn more about SQL Server, stuff like this, you can buy my training. If you like this content enough to like donate a bit to the channel, you can become a channel member. All of these things are down in the video description, along with the link to ask me office hours questions, which I try to answer 5 of every week. And of course, if you enjoy this content, do the kind thing, like, subscribe, tell a friend, all that good stuff. The only thing that I have left on my speaking schedule through the end of the year is Past Data Community Summit, taking place in Seattle, November 17th to 21st, where I will be banging out 2 days of T-SQL pre-cons with Kendra Little. They are undoubtedly the finest T-SQL content ever produced, so I will see you over there. Anyway, let's get this party started. Come over here. So I've gotten so this can happen for 2 reasons. I'm going to show you one of them because showing you both of them would be boring and redundant. So I've created an indexed view. It will happen for this if the index view has more than one table referenced in it. So like there's obviously a join between users and posts in here. This will also happen if you have foreign keys with cascading updates or deletes. So there are 2 things that at least I'm aware of where this will happen, right? So modifying tables that are referenced by index views, assuming that there is more than one table in the index view. Otherwise, you just get regular xlock hints, and cascading foreign keys. So I'm going to show you the example with index views. So this view is already created or altered, and this index is already created. When I run this, I'll get an error. Great. So one way that you can kind of see this is for this doesn't, like, these types of locks don't always show up when you modify a table reference in the index view. That I don't have full details on, but I can tell you that for this update, it takes around 4 seconds. And if we use my little helper thing called What's Up Locks, this is available at my GitHub repo. The short link for that is code.ericdarling.com. That's where you get all my other store procedures like quickie store and pressure detector and stuff. But if we run that update and we get the locks and then we roll back the transaction, within that we can see range XX locks. So range locks like this are hints about serializable stuff going on. So that's the first thing, right? Pretty obvious that we got some serializable locks that way. The only way to see the hints that SQL Server supplies that I've found is to run the update you need the recompile hint so the stuff shows up, but then to use this sort of smattering of trace flags to get other information out. So if we run this will also take about 4 seconds. And down in the messages tab, you'll have all this crazy stuff, right? There's stuff, this stuff goes on basically forever. But if we look through this enough, we'll see some hints in here, right? So if we scroll down and we find where we start looking at tables and things, then we will see parts where SQL Server started applying hints, but it's really kind of a nightmare to find in all this stuff. You really have to go scrolling and looking, and it's not a lot of fun. So I'm not going to make you sit through all that. But this is what part of the output in that looks like, right? You'll see something like FIOP, which is, physical operation, and range. And then we'll see for the post table, remember that was one of the tables that was in the indexed view. We'll see some information in here. And then, of course, we will see hints applied. Those hints will be serializable internal and detect snapshot conflict. Detect snapshot conflict is in there in case you have snapshot isolation level enabled. The snapshot isolation level enabled in SQL Server needs to figure out if your writes are going to conflict with another one. But the important thing is the serializable internal. And then on the indexed view itself, user post score, right? So this was on the post table. But on user post score, we get some different ones. We get an up Deadlock, and along with serializable, because we actually have to update, we have to maintain the index view. We're not updating the post table in this, remember? We're just updating the users table. But the post table needs to be read from using the serializable isolation level. For the indexed view itself, we take an up Deadlock because we have to maintain the indexed view, right? Because the column in the users table we were updating is in the indexed view, so we have to update the index view. And of course, we get the same serializable hint when reading from the index view to figure out which rows need to be maintained. And we of course get the detect snapshot conflict hint as well, just in case snapshot isolation is enabled. So like I said before, you have to go pretty deep into SQL Server stuff to find where these hints get applied. It takes a lot of trace flagging and other annoying stuff to get this information, and then looking at the trace flag output, which is also not fun. So, there's that. But once you find it, you can prove to people that doing certain things in SQL Server, primarily creating an index view that spans more than one table, and having to update one of the tables in that index view, and foreign keys with cascading updates or deletes will also show this same stuff. So it does happen. This is the only way I've found to really prove that it happens, but it does, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed yourselves. I hope you learned something, and I will see you next time. Adios. I'm hitting the wrong button. There we go.